Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video, doing JMA Friday for today's video. So as always on a Friday, we're having a look at the weather for the month ahead with the Japanese and CFS V2 models, and I shall get on with that for you very shortly. Just say, but first video, it says our 7 AM forecast. We've also released the ECMWF 42-day/6 weeks look ahead for the UK and Ireland as well. That takes us to the middle of December, but very, very conflicting signals with that one. And then we've got 10 to 14 day, which will include all our great features coming up for you later on this afternoon. So please like, share, subscribe on all our videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. No live stream tonight. I'm too busy to be able to fit in this week's Friday night live stream, but it will be back next Friday. Right, so let's have a look then, shall we? We're going to start off with the JMA 500 millibar height anomaly from the North Pole and Arctic view down. So this is the North Pole just here. This is a wider Arctic circle, of course, so we've got the latitudes around here. So yellow, orange, and red extrapolate to above average heights, which is high pressure, blue to below average heights, which is low pressure. These are broken down to week periods. The first week period will take us from the 29th of October today through to the 5th of November. And the coming week looks very unsettled, actually, with a deep area of below average heights, a deep trough of low pressure across UK, Ireland, and West Europe. High pressure is pulled out into the middle of the Atlantic and the jet stream. Doing something a little bit like that. So on the cold side of the jet stream, and we're in a big area of low pressure, big trough, looking very unsettled, I have to say, in the week ahead. We get through to week 2, which will be the 5th through to the 12th of November, and we're going to find higher pressure starting to build in from the west, lower pressure getting pushed away to the north and to the northeast. So obviously we're settling down here, we're losing the low pressure, that's moving off to the east. High pressure is starting to edge in from the west, and we're sort of turning wind into more of a northwesterly direction. So, you know, it's probably going to be quite cool, but it will be a drier trend, I think, there. And for northern areas, actually, maybe a little bit more influence from the Atlantic, so possibly a little bit milder with that as well. But quite settled, I would have thought, for high pressure control. And then weeks 3 and 4 look quite interesting. This is the 12th through to the 26th of November. And we take the high pressure then away into the North Atlantic and move it up to Greenland. So we've got a mid-Atlantic ridge combined with sort of Greenland high type pattern. Trough of low pressure is to our east and also to our south. That could well lead us to start pulling in some quite cold air from the north and from the northeast with that. So the JMA looks like it's turning things colder and much more in way of blocking, northern blocking into the second half of November. A little bit of a shocker, that one. That's a 2-weekly anomaly as well. So normally it's quite a weak signal, you know, for weeks 3 and 4 being a 2-weekly anomaly. But that's quite a strong signal for northern blocking to really start getting going into the second half of November. So could we see something significantly colder coming up second half of the month? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Right, let's have a look at the tropical mid-latitude view then next. So we can't see the Arctic and the North Pole, Greenland, Scandinavia, Iceland, all those areas off the chart up here, but we've had a look at that view down so we know what's happening. So in the week, with British Arctic in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it, by the way. So in the week ahead, we've got a trough of low pressure, part over top of the country, high pressure pulled out into the middle of the Atlantic. Looks very unsettled in the week ahead, and we are slightly on the cold side of the jet stream. So the temperature anomaly for week 1 is going to be averaged to a little bit below, actually, for northern and western areas. Again, this is the 29th of October, 5th of November, a little bit below average of temperature in the far north, near normal elsewhere. And because we're under a big trough of low pressure, it's also unsettled with above average rainfall to come for Ireland and also for the UK. Now we move through into week 2, which will be the 5th through to the 12th of November, and the high pressure sort of pulls out to our west. Have low pressure over here across East Europe, so the trough pushes eastwards basically. High pressure builds in from the west. Looks like probably bringing like a west to northwesterly flow. Temperature lines begin to lift up to our west, so we are starting to pull in some milder air, especially to more western areas, I think. There may be still a little bit of a northwesterly component to wind. Notice over here on the continent, it's generally a little bit below average. But I think this is a milder week, clearly, in week 2. And it is drier as well as we begin to block off the Atlantic Ocean. We start to turn a little bit drier for Ireland and for the UK as well. And then weeks 3 and 4 will take us from the 12th to 26th of November. And we get this area of above average heights in the Atlantic, sort of lifting up towards Greenland. So low pressure down here. And it looks like it should probably be forcing the wind into like an east or a northeasterly direction, maybe. The temperature anomaly doesn't show anything particularly cold. So near normal to perhaps a little bit above average, especially so to our southwest. And it looks like it's a bit more unsettled as well. Starting to go rather wetter. I reckon if we get that blocking going in the mid-Atlantic and up to Greenland, I reckon that could go colder though than that shows in the second half of November. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Right, let's have a look at CFS-V2 then, see how that compares. So it's a 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly pairs. The first weekly pair will take us from the 29th of October to the 4th of November. The coming week will be dominated by low pressure over the UK and Ireland. A very unsettled week to come, therefore. Week 3 has good agreement with week 2, I should say, has good agreement with the JMA. This is the 5th to the 11th of November. High pressure starts to edge in from off the Atlantic. Low pressure towards Greenland. Winds going to the west. So that looks like it should be a drier but also rather milder week. Then we have like a disagreement with the JMA and the CFS because the CFS just shows high pressure dominating. This is week 3, 12th to the 18th of November, and the high pressure is right over top of the country. It's out into the Atlantic a little bit, but not going up to Greenland particularly. So, yeah, you know, just high pressure well and truly in control of the weather. And then week 4 will be the 19th to 25th of November, more of a mid-Atlantic ridge type thing, but not really going up to Greenland at that point. However, we're not that far away from pulling in like a northerly influence. And certainly if we send that high pressure just a little bit further north around there, then we would start pulling in like northerly winds. Notice it is lowering the heights across southern Europe as well. So maybe your CFS by week 4 is hinting at a little bit of a northerly outbreak. It might be. So, you know, the 2 models are kind of in agreement anyway for November by the look of it, which is a relief because if you see the EC 42-day forecast, you'll know that the ECMWS signals are very, very strange this week. So the temperature anomaly for week 1 will be that's the 29th of October to 4th of November. Comes out actually slightly below average, a little bit of a cooler than average week coming up. Goes a little bit milder though for week 2. So they're both in agreement with that, both models. 5th through to 11th of November, that one's a milder week. So quite cool or cold for week 1, milder for week 2, and they both agree on that. Then we get through to week 3, which will be the 12th to the 18th of November, near normal, but a little bit of a cool down compared to week 2, I suppose. And then week 4, if anything, might hint of being a little bit on the colder side. This would be 19th, 25th of November. Might be a little bit below average. And if you come over here, we see the continent looking quite cool as well. So, yeah, it could be a cooler November, this, if these models are right. Finally, precipitation from the CFS-V2. So, week 1, 29th of October, 4th of November, is wetter than average for Ireland and also for the UK as well. Week 2 will be the 5th through to the 11th of November, near normal for precipitation. Week 3 is going to be the 12th to the 18th of November. That's near normal to a bit drier than average, particularly so north. And then week 4 will be the 19th to 25th of November, near normal for precipitation in that week. Right, so we've got reasonable agreement here, actually, surprisingly, between these 2 models. So, definitely, next week is an unsettled week. Low pressure dominates. It's going to be quite cool and wet in the coming days. We have a drier, milder interlude, by the look of it, as we go into the second week of November. And then, sort of middle to second half month, rest of November, really, might go colder, and we might even start to see some higher, some high latitude blocking getting going, some mid-Atlantic ridge, maybe, bit of Greenland blocking as well. So by the time we get through to the last stage of November, we could be looking at some quite cold weather here, if the signals are correct. Remember, it's just a snapshot of what the models are showing. It could look completely different next week. Any forecast beyond 5-7 days comes with big health warnings attached to it. That's just how it looks this week. Right, so we're going to be back shortly with your 10 to 14 day. That's going to include all of regular features, so come back for that then. But for JMA Friday this week, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.